আজকে আমি ডিসকাস করব different types of aerial photographs. Aerial photographs are normally taken from any platform like aeroplane. The aerial photograph usually taken from the above the ground. So it needs a camera. Actually, a photography needs a camera. What is that? Suppose this is an aeroplane. Suppose this is an aeroplane and the camera will be fitted under that aeroplane. Suppose the camera is fitted under that aeroplane and hence we are getting a particular exposure. Suppose this is an aeroplane. The camera is fitted just beneath the aeroplane and it is capturing some part or some portion of the earth's surface, just like our mobile camera. But the difference is this aerial photography, the camera used for this aerial photography needs two things. One is daylight and other one is negative. One is daylight, that means only in the daytime we can capture the aerial photography, and if you want to capture the aerial photograph then we must use negative in the camera system, in the capturing system, right? So this is basically the basic principle of aerial photography. Now let us move to the geometry of an aerial photograph. Now if we come to the point of basic geometry of aerial photograph, then you can find it is our ground, this is our camera, the main focus point, that means the lens of our camera, the lens of our camera. It is our negative, that means the photographic negative, on which thus any object, any particular that on which we capture this segment of a particular segment of the earth's surface. After due course of time, we develop this negative into a positive thing. So that positive thing will be known as the photograph. The middlemost point of the lens is known as focal point. Focal point, that is usually demarcated as F. Here, any point on the ground A, which will be represented by small a on the photograph, and that same point will be represented as a dash on the negative. And similarly, any point on the ground B, which will be demarcated as small b on the photograph, and that will be captured as b dashed on the negative. That is how the aerial photo is being captured. See the distance. If we divide that, suppose this is our body of the camera. So the distance between the focal point, that means the middlemost point of the middlemost point of the camera of the lens is known as focal point. So the distance between the vertical distance between this point and this point, this distance or this distance, both are same, by the way. So these two distances are known as focal distance. What is that? Focal distance. That means the vertical distance from negative to the focal point is known as focal distance, or the vertical distance between the photograph and the focal point is known as the focal distance. Hence, we can say this distance, hence we can say this distance, if it is, if we call it as a focal distance, and this distance, that is height. So this is our focal distance and this is our height of the aeroplane. So the scale of this photograph will be photo distance by ground distance. That means focal distance by this h, or we can write it as the AB, small ab divided by capital AB. Alright, so we can write it like that also, small ab divided by capital AB. That means photo distance by ground distance, or focal distance by height. So this is S is denoted as the scale of this aerial photograph. Alright, now coming to the classification of aerial photograph.